In Medina, the Prophet Muhammad has passed away. His followers, united by the new faith of Islam, bring the Arabian Peninsula under the leadership of Abu Bakr, the first caliph, regarded as God's representative on earth. They then strike beyond Arabia against the two regional superpowers, the Eastern Roman Empire and the Sassanid Persians. Both are weakened by long wars, and the Muslims win a string of victories. By 651, they have taken around 2/3 of the Eastern Roman Empire and virtually all of the Sassanid realm. In 656, the third caliph, Uthman, is killed, triggering the first Muslim civil war, the Fitna. Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, has broad support, but he is challenged by Syria's governor, Muawiyah, a relative of Uthman. 5 years of fighting end with Ali's assassination at Kufa. Muawiyah prevails and founds the Umayyad Caliphate. Further conquests build one of history's largest empires, but civil strife continues. Hussein, son of Ali and grandson of the Prophet, rejects the succession of Muawiyah's son, Yazid. In 680, Hussein and his followers are defeated and killed at Karbala. The partisans of Ali and his descendants become the Shia, who still mourn Hussein each year on Ashura. The Umayyad realm keeps growing, yet deep divisions build within. Much of what we know comes from later, often hostile sources, but it appears a small Arab Muslim elite dominated the empire and grew unpopular with many subjects, including those later called dhimmi, non-Muslims such as Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians who paid extra taxes and had fewer rights. Even many converts to Islam, the Mawali, felt second class. After decades of discontent, the stage was set for revolt. The Umayyads' white banners faced a new rival in 747, the black banners of the Abbasids. The Abbasids were an Arab family claiming descent from Al-Abbas, the Prophet's uncle. They argued this lineage gave them a stronger claim to the caliphate than the Umayyads, whom their propaganda painted as corrupt and widely hated. They promised a return to correct belief and moral leadership, and sent agents across the empire to spread their message. In 747, with the caliphate again shaken by unrest, they moved. In Khorasan, the eastern frontier, a commander named Abu Muslim, likely a Persian convert, raised the black Hashemite banner. The Hashemites were the Prophet's broader clan, with the Abbasids among its leading branches. This borderland, covering parts of today's northeastern Iran, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan, was primed for rebellion. Arabs and non-Arab converts lived, married, and fought side by side to guard the frontier. Many resented the distant Umayyad rulers, and Hashemite networks had spent years preparing the ground. Abu Muslim's revolt quickly drew in Arabs, Persians, and Central Asians, many of them veterans. He proved a gifted general, winning repeated victories and taking Kufa, Iraq's capital, in 749. The Abbasids then stepped forward to lead the uprising. The next year, their army met the forces of the Umayyad Caliph Marwan II at the Zab River. The Abbasid soldiers stood with unshakable confidence, hardened by a string of victories that had carried them to this moment. On the other side, Marwan's army gathered under the white banners of the Umayyads, but their support for him was divided and their morale fragile. It was the frigid morning of January 25th, 750, when the two forces finally came face to face along the eastern bank of the greater Zab River. Before a single arrow was loosed, both armies turned toward Mecca and raised their hands in prayer. When the dawn prayer ended, the deep, rhythmic pounding of war drums rolled across the valley. Everyone present knew that the coming clash would determine who would rule the Muslim world. At the order to form ranks, both armies assembled into tight, disciplined formations. The cavalry lined up at the front, infantry stood ready behind them, and the archers and pikemen took their positions. On one side, the white standards of the Umayyads whipped in the wind. On the other, the black banners of the Abbasids snapped sharply against the cold air. Abu Muslim, commanding the Abbasids, knew his only hope was to depend on iron discipline, patience, and clever tactics. The Umayyads, with their far larger army, intended to rely on the crushing power of numbers and the devastating momentum of their cavalry charge. The battle began when skirmishers from both sides advanced, filling the sky with arrows. The volley was relentless, thousands of shafts arching through the air as each side probed for weaknesses in the other's line. When the storm of arrows ceased, the archers withdrew behind their main forces. A heavy silence fell on the battlefield, broken only by the snapping of banners and the ringing of weapons as men gripped their spears and shields. Abu Muslim's infantry then took a few steps forward, forming a wall of spears, daring the Umayyads to attack. In response, Marwan raised his sword and shouted, "To God we belong, and to him we shall return." What followed was a terrifying sight. Several thousand Umayyad cavalry thundered forward, the ground shaking beneath their charge. One Abbasid recalled that, "The Syrians came at us like a mountain of iron." This living avalanche of riders and horses roared toward the Abbasid line, intent on crushing the rebellion once and for all. But Abu Muslim had prepared for this exact moment. His men had been drilled to withstand the charge of Marwan's horsemen. Though staring down a wave of galloping war horses was enough to freeze the blood, the Abbasid troops stood firm. The impact was devastating. The first clash sent thousands tumbling to the ground, and for a moment, it seemed the Abbasid line might collapse. Yet the spearmen held. Their tight formation absorbed the shock, and soon the cavalry's momentum was spent. The battle dissolved into vicious close-quarters fighting. Many Umayyad riders dismounted to fight hand-to-hand among the press of men and horses, but the Abbasids, refusing to yield, began to push them back. Seeing the enemy faltering, Abu Muslim gave the signal for a full advance. The entire Abbasid line surged forward. The Umayyads, exhausted and bloodied, broke. Their retreat quickly turned into a full rout. Abbasid cavalry poured after them, cutting down fugitives without mercy. With the Zab River at their backs, many of Marwan's troops found their escape cut off. Thousands were driven into the river and drowned as panic consumed the fleeing army. By midday, the field was a scene of carnage, the screams of drowning soldiers mixing with the victorious shouts of the Abbasids. Abu Muslim had won a decisive victory. The Umayyad Caliphate had been destroyed in a single shattering blow. Marwan survived the battle, fleeing first to Syria and then to Egypt. But his flight ended in capture and execution. With his death, the Umayyad dynasty effectively came to an end. By April, Damascus had fallen to the Abbasids, ending centuries of Syrian dominance over the Caliphate and ushering in the new Abbasid era. Abul Abbas as-Saffar became the first caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate, and the ruthless and charismatic Abu Muslim, who spearheaded the new regime, made sure that power shifted away from Syria and to the east by setting up the capital at the city of Kufa. This signaled the dawn of the Abbasids, which ushered a new age of cultural and scientific blossoming in the Islamic world that would last for centuries to come.